When you have a narcissist in your life, you're going to want to make sure that your boundaries are strong. And then you're going to want to put boundaries on top of those boundaries. So follow along as I talk through boundaries that need to be strong with a narcissist. And be sure to take note of any areas in your own life that might need some reinforcement. And be sure to watch to the end because I'm going to share some of my best tips for dealing with the inevitable pushback that you're going to get from the narcissist in your life. Because narcissists don't like boundaries. Let's get to it. Welcome to the Common Ego community. My name is Christina, and today we're talking about setting boundaries with the narcissist in your life. This is not something that is easy to do. It's not fun work, but I can promise you it is so worthwhile. So first, I want to talk about two types of boundaries that you might want to have with the narcissist in your life, and you're going to choose one or the other. The first is the no contact type boundaries. This is a set of boundaries that you will have. And this I'm not going to talk about in too much detail in this video because it's really pretty self-explanatory. Just imagine if you want to go no contact with a narcissist in your life. Just imagine you and the important people in your life, your friends and family members, the really close people to you. Just imagine you all have a restraining order against the narcissist. And how is the narcissist supposed to act in that situation? That essentially explains the boundaries that you will set with the narcissist when you're going no contact. So the other set of boundaries is what we're going to be discussing here today. And it's a little bit more complicated, which is why it gets its own video. So this is for when you have to have the narcissist in your life, or maybe you've identified that they're a toxic influence, but you're not quite ready to give up that relationship yet. Maybe you're in a marriage that you can't leave or don't want to leave. There's no judgment, but I do want to help you reinforce those boundaries. And hopefully if this person is a toxic influence to you, hopefully you don't have to encounter this person very often. But when you do, these boundaries will help. Okay, so my list of boundaries that you need to have with a narcissist is divided into two columns, the do's and the don'ts. And now as I go through these, I know you're going to think of some that I might have missed, and I definitely might have missed some. So let me know in the comments if you do think of any. But I want to point out that the ones that I have added to this list are boundaries that are easily communicated. So you might be tempted to put something like no gaslighting, but then when you try to enforce it, the narcissist is just going to gaslight you about whether they're gaslighting you. So I tried to make these clear and a little bit easier to enforce. So we're going to run through these pretty quick, and you can take notes. Or if you don't want to take notes, I've got you. There is a download that you can access from the description box here. And it's basically a summary of everything in this video. So you'll find all 11 boundaries that you need to have with the narcissist in your life. And there's some bonus content there too. So we're going to start with the column of do's because it's actually a shorter list. So when you're setting boundaries with a narcissist, you're going to want to make sure that they do respect your personal space. Understand that no means no. Speak to you with respect and respect your autonomy. So this one is a little bit more broad and you can take it to mean whatever it needs to mean within your own life. So it depends on where the narcissist is pushing these boundaries. I'll give you an example. Let's just say that the narcissist in your life is trying to control your other relationships. So maybe they're trying to influence who you spend time with, or maybe who you don't spend time with. And they're trying to manage or micromanage all of your relationships. So this is one where you are going to maintain control and make it very clear that you have control over your relationships and that you have the final say in who you spend your time with and who you allow into your life. This is about maintaining control over yourself and making your own decisions. And this can extend to so many different things. So it could be control over your finances or your wardrobe, whatever it is that you feel like you've lost control over or that the narcissist is trying their best to control. Set that clear boundary so that you can call it out when the narcissist oversteps, and they will. So now to the next column, the don'ts. Don't call me names. Don't dismiss my thoughts or opinions. They are just as valid as yours. And no more paraphrasing my words. Essentially, don't put words in my mouth that I didn't say. no raising your voice with me, no making jokes at my expense, and no interrupting or speaking over me. So now I know what you're thinking right now, like these are all great, right? But how do you make the narcissist follow them? And the answer is you don't. Setting boundaries is not about controlling another person. It's about controlling what you allow into your life. So they could do whatever they want, really. You're not trying to control them. That is a narcissistic thing to do, really. But if they want to do things that you have clearly stated are not going to fly with you, they can do them somewhere else. So I have a couple of tips for you for enforcing these boundaries. And the first one is don't give up before you start. Now, I know that some of us that struggle with people pleasing will anticipate the pushback, and just even the thought of it feels overwhelming. You start to feel anxiety in thinking about how the narcissist is going to respond. And this can be a difficult one to overcome, but at this point, it's about committing. And what you're committing to is change. Because if you keep doing the same thing, if you keep allowing the narcissist to trample your boundaries, you're going to end up feeling the same way over and over again. And if you're watching this video, I'm going to bet you want to stop that cycle. So understand that you have a right to these boundaries. You have a right to be treated with respect. And the narcissist doesn't get to decide what that looks like for you. Only you can do it. So the second point I want to make about this is that it's really important to understand that boundaries are not selfish. And it's really important to understand that because the narcissist is going to make you feel like you're being selfish and mean. But what boundaries are a form of protection. And they're not only protecting you, they're protecting this relationship, whatever it is. If it's a work relationship, a friendship, a family member, you're protecting this relationship. Because how do you feel when someone tramples your boundaries? Resentful, right? It adds a whole layer to the relationship that doesn't need to be there. So by setting boundaries, in a way, it's actually the kinder route to go because you're making it very clear that this is something that I will not stand for, instead of standing for it and being upset about it. So you're not going to get a narcissist to understand this, and they are going to continue to push. But I'm telling you this stuff because I want you to understand that it's about protection really for everyone involved. I'd say almost entirely protection for you, but it is also good for the relationship. And especially if you have to co-parent with this person. If there's something that you have to do where you have to see this person, and you have to kind of negotiate things, having healthy boundaries really, really helps. And even if you feel like it's difficult to enforce them, even if you feel like you're not getting anywhere because you have to keep saying the same thing over and over again, the fact that you're saying it over and over again is enforcing that boundary. So you are doing a great job and you're on the right track. And I'm with you. I wish it weren't so exhausting. But one way that I like to look at it is that it's practice. This is intense practice. If you can learn to set boundaries with a narcissist who is used to trampling them, you can set boundaries with anyone. So now I want to talk through how to communicate these boundaries with a narcissist, because that can be a little bit tricky too. A lot of us want to avoid the fight that we feel is inevitable. And you may or may not be able to avoid an argument. You may not be able to completely avoid pushback, but you can deliver the message in a way that is more likely to be better received. So instead of taking the list of do's and don'ts and saying you will do this and you will not do this, I would suggest delivering the message in a way that is less about blame. So maybe saying something like, when you do this, I feel this way. And this is a common tip for setting boundaries. And with a narcissist, I know you may not want to share your real feelings, right? But these don't have to be deep feelings. Okay, you don't have to say, I feel hurt, if you don't feel comfortable doing that. You can say, when you do this, I feel unheard. I feel ignored. I feel disrespected. And so the next part is also going to protect you further, and that is to say, and I will not stand for it. Or if you feel like you need to soften it, and I can't allow that anymore. So this is something that you'll do if a narcissist, or when I should say when a narcissist is trampling your boundaries, but you're only going to do this if you feel safe doing so. And if the narcissist keeps pushing, then you're going to take the second step, and that is to walk away. And you don't necessarily have to walk away from the person entirely. That's not really what I'm talking about here. That's more the decision whether you want to go no contact or not. And that's a bigger conversation. But when somebody is trampling your boundaries, you have every right to end the conversation. The important part here really is that you stop the behavior. When they're trampling your boundaries, it has to stop. If you allow it to happen, then right there is the weakness in your boundary. So remember, I did not say it was easy, but I did say it was possible, and it is. It definitely takes work and it takes commitment, but it is so worthwhile because, like I said, if you want change, you have to change. You have to change the way this relationship works. If you're waiting around for the narcissist to change, you're going to be waiting for a lifetime. So setting some ground rules in the form of boundaries is really going to help you. So if you are struggling with this, I would suggest you download that PDF. It can help. And there are a couple of exercises in there that might be helpful for you too. Another issue people have with boundaries after a relationship with a narcissist is learning to trust people again and letting people in. So what I'm talking about here is the difference between boundaries and barriers. And you want to make sure that when you're ready, you can get to a point where you have strong and healthy boundaries and not complete roadblocks. If you can relate to this, watch this video right here. And as always, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. All these things can help this video reach more people. And I will see you next time.